Hello everybody, how's it going? Gonna get started here in about a minute. We'll let people filter in. How's it going? And we will get started momentarily. Another UI UX design review. Oh, let me get the chat window popped out here. Hello. Let's get this moved over here. Situated up. Baldigan, yeah, possibly. I never know when I'm going to do these. It all depends on if I have something else better planned. Oh, well, that's good then. All right, so we'll be doing this for about an hour as usual. Don't think we're going to have a ton of people watching today just because it's the day after Thanksgiving here in the US, so we'll see. In fact, it looks like we're really low on viewership. No big deal. I think we have a decent amount of submissions here to get started, at least. All right, let me come up. Where are we at? Oh yeah, we have a good amount. Generation Z gamer. Yes, I can, but you have to go to. I'll start my spiel now to let people know how to submit. All right, so basically, yeah, it's Black Friday. So basically, I've been doing this for a long time, but if you're new, this is basically a live design review where you go ahead and click on the link in the description of YouTube to Discord, which is this chat application that you see here. You join up. You'll have to go to the rules section. You have to hit a react at the bottom, like to determine whether or not you are a front-end developer, back-end developer, full-stack designer. Once you do that, all these other channels will open up on the side. You can click on feedback and then submit your design either in the form of a picture, of like a mock-up or prototype. Could be Figma, XD, whatever. Or you can also submit an actual live URL of a site if it's live and in encoding. And I will take them as they come in, although if you submit a super chat here in the chat window or whatever, where you send me a little bit of money, mention your Discord username, and I will get to it. I will thrust it to the very beginning of the queue, so you'll be next in line. And so I will do my best to just review it and give you pointers to try to help you out in terms of the UI and UX. And we also do a live rating where I rate it as well as the chat from the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, yes, black shirt on Black Friday. All right, so the very first one that we received this morning when I announced the fact that I was doing this, which, hey, by the way, is why you should come to my Discord server and idle, is from this dude. I am Chet. All right, it's a real project that's close to being finished. I'm looking for feedback on the last page specifically. The sidebar looks off to me, and I'm not sure where to place my tools. Perhaps near the comment section. Also, I still need to implement the option to give kudos. All right, so looking for feedback on the last page. All right, the sidebar looks off. Let's check this. All right, so let me click open the original and so that we can see a much larger uncompressed view. Wish we could still see a little bit larger of a resolution here because it's a little bit blurred up here at this point. Okay, so this is just a JPG here of a UI. He said the last page looks off. I'm not sure what exactly he meant by that. But looking at this, the first thing that I'm just noticing, and it doesn't mean it's like the worst thing or whatever, is the current page indicator is styled exactly the same as this call to action button down here. And the call to action, the create post, is definitely more important than just indicating which page you're currently on or which tab or whatever. So I would just maybe completely change this up so that maybe it's just a slightly lighter value of the background. It's like a dark blue, slightly lighter, barely like noticeable. And then that would be enough to differentiate the current active page versus the inactive ones. And then also this create the post, you can leave that the same. I'm not too sure if I like the gradient on here. I probably just stick with a solid orange color. Looking at the rest of this, let's see here. I'm not too sure about having this watermark with the illustrations. I would probably remove that and these as well, just to declutter it a little bit. Looking at the rest of it, I mean, there's a lot of it's very solid. It's just those few things I think that would help to improve it. The usernames, for instance, being this gray value, I would make those probably closer to probably the same value as the top contributors text. Like it looks like it's either black or a very dark blue. And also you can barely see the kudos part as well. It's kind of, everything's washed out down there. So you just want to make those stick out with more contrast, a little bit more. All right, what do you guys think this person should get for a rating for their UI design based on what's presented here on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I will not look at what you guys are saying, and in 10 seconds, I'll give my rating of what I think this design should get. And then we'll see if we agree. I'm going to say a 6.8 or so, 6.7. And it looks like you guys pretty much agreed with me. It's in the image UR link. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, okay. This one is what he's talking about. Oh, sorry. Let me get this back here so you guys can see. All right, he was talking about this right here. All right, this actually looks a lot better in terms of the quality. I'll just take a real quick look at it. This actually isn't, from what I see, it looks like it's like, what do you call, similar to the approach of, what's that site called? SoundCloud, yeah, with the little comments here. But I actually kind of like this. This is a little bit small of text, it looks like, this portion right here. Maybe, yeah, maybe just a tad bit larger. But looking at this, in terms of the comment section down here, yeah, I really don't think there's anything too blatantly wrong with this, based on what I see. Yeah, pretty solid overall. All right, let's continue on. All right, let's see here. Please provide your opinion about this simple web page. Okay. Ideally, if you're going to submit something that's not live in code, it would be nice to see like a Figma prototype URL or an Adobe XD prototype URL instead of just a JPEG or a PNG. All right, so let's check this one out. Rhythm musical. Seems like we got a lot of musical things going on here. All right, so the first thing that's blatantly wrong, in my opinion, about this submission is the guitars starting at just $34.99. Now, the problem is you can see the guitars in the background that are white, almost white, and there's not enough contrast. So this part kind of gets really lost. So you would, if you want to keep this image, I would really just darken it big time. So it'll increase the contrast of the white foreground elements. The Shop Now button, also as it stands, can't really see it. It gets hidden in with all the other similar values in the background. So again, that would be fixed by making this whole photograph dark, much darker. Coming down here, let's see. All right, so we have a sidebar. Pretty easy to understand. I would probably left align shop by category because everything else is. There are a lot of borders all over the place. There's a border up here, border here, border here. To simplify things, just get rid of the borders. If you wanted to keep one, perhaps maybe this one, but there's just borders all over the place, so that just creates unnecessary clutter. As for your product images and all that, these look pretty solid. I don't have much of a problem with that. All right, other than that, from what I'm seeing, you know, pretty solid footer. Have any query? Let's see here. Yeah, the button sticks out well down there. The nav up here is pretty solid. So yeah, a lot of things are happening right here, but just a few things that are off. What do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I'm gonna say, looking at this again, it's almost kind of similar to the last one. I'm gonna say a 6.5 or so, 6.6, 6.7, almost like the same rating in my opinion from the previous one. Seems like you guys pretty much agree. Let's continue on. All right. Again, I'm not going to be able to get to all the submissions. Right. Listen, I'm going to do just one in Shoal. I know you submitted multiple, but I just want to get to other people who are waiting. So let's just go here to Code Bab. By the way, I'm not probably won't be able to get to all the submissions, and if you really want me to, you can submit a super chat and just mention your Discord name. Let me translate that actually. Okay. You want a website? You are in the right place. Okay. Oh, sweet. Okay, Douglas, thank you. You'll be next after I review this one. All right. So, CodeBab. All right. So this purple sort of element right here is kind of throwing off the text right here, the type right here, because it's just sitting right on top of that line. I'm not sure if I really like the placement of this. I understand you're trying to add like a graphical element just to introduce color, but I would probably rethink that, and I would also probably just make it extend 100% of the width of the available space. Our packages completely gets lost. You can't really see that at all. These call to actions, they need to stick out as much as possible. So if you were to keep this background being this purple with the Our Packages button on top of it, really you should keep it this color, the hover color by default, or there's many other options that you could take to have a really well contrasting call to action. So just think about that, because this right here where it's white gets lost. Oh, okay, I see it's like a scroll based animation there. Okay. Now one thing I would do, because it looks a little bit repetitive and grid-based when you're just going like everything is kind of center aligned, especially on desktop, it just seems a little bit redundant and repetitive. So I would try to think about how in this section you can really split these up. Like for instance, on desktop, you could have like 2 columns. So like design would be on the left, followed would be on the right. That way you save space and you save scrolling as well, because that's extra work. All right, so I really like these icons here that you have. The accommodation, obviously we have a problem there with how this is taking the end to the bottom. I'm not sure if that's an issue with the language that you're in or whatever, but it is an issue here, obviously for people who speak English. Right here, too many borders. That's the immediate thing I noticed. Too many borders. And so this one, there's a border here randomly. This line, just get rid of that completely. Outside of that, this is a good left column, pretty solid right here. Email address, okay. Oops, I'm clicking on other stuff. Pretty solid call to action here. I probably wouldn't make this white when you hover over it. Probably also ditch the shadow that comes there. But Yeah, other than that, what do you guys think? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I'll answer in about 10 seconds. Good. There's some things that are happening that are pretty solid here. Probably too many columns right here. You probably want to reduce that a bit. For this one, I'm going to say a 5.9. Very close to a 6, I would say. Let's see what other people say. 5.5, 7, 6, 5.5. So I'm pretty much there. Somebody says 1. Trust me, I've seen so much worse than this. In fact, last week somebody did get a 1, I think. All right, let's continue on. Oh, the super chat. Please review the new project that I work on. I send the link in the Discord chat. Okay, well, you need to tell me your Discord username, Douglas. Otherwise, I don't know who's to look for. Unless your name... Here, who's the next one I have to do? Gaffle. Gaffle is next. All right, so is there somebody named Douglas? Yes. Okay. All right, so this is the super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Stupid Windows. Let's get this set up here. Okay, so this is our super chat submission. Let's think about what needs to be improved. First, I'm just going to take a look at it here. Oh, let's translate this. Okay. All right, just looking. Now this, I'm not sure if that's an issue with the translation, perhaps. I don't know. That's obviously a big issue. I would assume that this is not intentional right here, because this is a big issue right here. Let me refresh this section without the translation on. What happened? Where'd it go? Oh, yeah, see, yeah. So I'm just going to leave it untranslated. Just focus on the design. Okay, so the first thing, the header bar and a nav bar, the logo, this is all solid. I don't see anything that would need to be improved here. Very good. Colors that you're using that work well together. I like it. Second, in this portion right here, the hero section, I would say, yeah, pretty solid. And there's probably not one thing I would change too much. I would think possibly slightly increase the size of this and this relative to each other, just slightly larger each one of them, because this is kind of small. But again, that's a tiny gripe. I think the background works well with the colors and everything, so I don't see anything that's too blatantly wrong there. Next section. So I'm not sure what this section is supposed to be about in terms of type. What you're saying, but red is one of those colors like that's to elicit danger or fear or something. So if that's relevant to the content here, then you can go ahead and stick with that. Otherwise, I might use something that's a little bit more neutral in terms of color. Other than that, what I see here is looking pretty solid. It's definitely unique as well. Coming down here again, I said the same thing. This is a little bit too small for my liking, just a tad bit. But again, everything's contrasting well. There's good white space. The scale, the separation in terms of the type here, the headline and the other content separated well through scale. This little illustration here works well. Good padding here between the different the different sections. Yeah, not too much wrong that I could say, really. Of course, I have subjective preferences, like for instance, changing this. I'm not sure if I like this being the same exact background color as that, but again, that's in the realm of subjectivity, not objectivity. But yeah, I might want to separate these out slightly differently, like maybe push more margin between the bottom of this element and the next element right here, just to space them out a little bit more. But again, I mean, this is real nitpicky stuff. Yeah, very solid otherwise. What do you guys think this person deserves as a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. I'll answer in a couple seconds or a few seconds. I'm going to say a... Yeah, I think we'll say like a 7.9, 8 or so. That's what I'm going to give it. Let's see what you guys said in the chat here. 7.7, 6.7, 7.3. Jeez, we got some critics here. 6, 5.56, 5.57. Oh, okay. Maybe I was looking at the old ones. I was thinking, wow, you guys are really rating him low. But no, it seems like everybody agrees. All right. Thank you very much, Doug, for that super chat. All right, let's continue on. Oh, man, who was next? Let's see if I can remember. I think I can remember. I'm not sure what the... Gaffle. Gaffle is next. All right. Open original. We've been streaming for about 22 minutes, so we'll be doing this for about 38 more minutes. Okay. Right. We need to work on this, or rather, you do, just a bit. Okay. So the headline here, I mean not the headline, but the nav bar is actually pretty solid in and of itself. But then it begins to fall apart big time because we have just this photograph that looks like it was just slapped on there. One of the things that you could do immediately to improve this is to make sure that this photograph, and you can use background size cover in CSS to achieve this, is to make sure the photograph goes all the way to the right and to the left. So that it doesn't look like it's just kind of slapped here in the middle. Outside of that, you would also want contrast between the top of the photograph and the nav bar here. Right now, these colors right here, the blue versus the teal, the turquoise just type of color, it doesn't contrast very well, so it doesn't create for a good separation of concerns. So that's one thing you would want to do. And usually, unless this is a photography website of some sort, you want some sort of ad copy letting people know what exactly this site is about, like what is the purpose. And so you can achieve that with a headline and a sub-headline, maybe a call to action somewhere. That's like a very standard pattern that people are used to. You can't go wrong with it, really. So coming down here, see, it seems like this is some type of a product-based website where you're selling honey or something like that. This is important to address what the site is in this section up here. Coming down here, looking at the kind of like a card-based design, this actually isn't too bad from what I see. Good white space in the middle. I think the type here for the script sort of font works in relation to, what is that, Montserrat font. So yeah, of course we have all this space down here. I'm not sure if this is like supposed to be another one here or whatever, but yeah, there's not too much more here for me to critique, but from what it is, it seems like you do have decent design sense. We just really need to work in this area up here. That needs improved big time. So what do you guys think? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, let me know. I'm going to say maybe a 5. If you just consider everything. Like this stuff down here would be more than a 5, but altogether I'm saying around a 5. Sorry, sometimes I forget that I have that overlay there and I start talking about stuff on the screen. All right, well, these sites aren't being reviewed on mobile because most of them have been just PNGs and JPEG prototypes. But also I don't really bother with responsive design concerns because it takes a long time just to do one. So I just do it on desktop, see what's happening, and that's that. Although, because I want to try to get through as many as possible. All right, so let's go here. Anshul, you have 2 more. There's still people waiting, so 1 submission review per person, unless I have more time at the end. So let's continue on. We have a Behance project here. All right. Online banking made better. Okay. Let's pull this down a bit. Now, one issue with these text fields, you can barely differentiate them, the background, with the text field compared to the background. So you want to increase that contrast somehow in some way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of different ways you could do that. Good call to action if you want to use red. For banking, I'm not really too sure you want to use red, just for the other reason I mentioned previously. It instills fear in most people. So I'm not sure you'd want to use red for a call to action. Outside of this, let's see here. This is a very solid section, like the white space. Trentino Bank. For the most part, from what I see here, it's pretty solid. Yeah. There's a lot here. But there's so many pages here. But from what I see, I can see there's a slight background, very light gray. And then you have some of your elements encased in a white background. I would take this background, this light gray, and just make it 1 tiny shade darker to increase the contrast on these elements right here. But outside of that, what I see here looks to be pretty solid. I would probably showcase it on something other than this thin black border right here. Just because borders tend to clutter designs, even if the border is the phone itself and it's not a part of the design. So for presentation purposes, I might choose something a little bit thicker than this to showcase everything on. But again, that's kind of like a subjective preference. Other than that, this one area, the splash screen, I'm not too sure about this element right here. But otherwise, in terms of design fundamentals, it seems pretty solid from what I see. So I'm not going to bother with a rating for this just because it's kind of like there's a lot of different screens here and I don't really want to bother with a rating. So we have a super chat. Please review my project. My nickname on Discord chat, Rob. Okay, so Rob, project name is Nomad iOS UI Kit. Okay, so Rob. Let's find Rob. Oh wait, who is next, by the way? Drigger is next. Okay, so let's find Rob. By the way, guys, today and tomorrow and possibly Sunday, I will be recording my music reveal video. Fun stuff. Okay, I hope it goes well. Okay, this is the super chatter. Thank you very much for that. And this is an iOS UI design kit. Okay. All right, let's look. This is pretty nice presentation we have here of the screens. So perhaps I'm just going to be reviewing the design of this Behance layout for this UI kit. From what I see, it looks pretty solid. Lot of screens, typography section. Yeah, this is solid from what I see for, you know, to present an actual UI kit. I'm not too certain about the extended letter spacing between the different type areas. Let me come back down here. Oops. What happened? Let me go back there for a second. Click on something and it wouldn't let me go back. Oh, it went on my other monitor. Well, this is long. Look at this, people. Woo. Okay. From what I see here, this is really solid in terms of presenting the UI design kit. I mean, I like this section especially, where you're staggering from left to right and right to left. Yeah, very solid. What do you guys think this person should get for a rating? Because honestly, I don't really have any blatant improvements that need to be suggested based on design fundamentals. 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Yeah, I think I know what I'm going to rate this. I'm going to rate this a 1. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually going to rate this one a 9. This is solid. Very, 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 very good. It looks like people agree with me too. Let's reset that. Awesome. Very nice. All right, let's continue on. Drigger was next. Where's Drigger? There he is. Okay. For me to give somebody 10, it has to be so groundbreaking and amazing outside of just solid design fundamentals that I would have to give it a 10. So while everything was really good there in terms of design fundamentals, I didn't see anything that was just blew my socks off, so to speak. So we're still looking out for a 10. All right. Let's check this out. Okay, we have some design elements here. This is obviously software engineer portfolio. All right. This is pretty solid. I mean, if you design this yourself and you identify as more of a coder as opposed to a designer, then I'm pretty impressed. It's pretty good. I can see the HP logo here. All this stuff right here seems to be pretty solid. I would say though, let's see. Although I'm not sure if saying hi it would make the most sense for a call to action on such an important area. People want to see your work probably before they want to talk to you, I would say. Like, what do you know? So maybe you can direct them there instead. Looking at this, it's kind of like a nice little section separator here, so I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem, and my eye was immediately drawn to when I scrolled down here, was this. In this section right here, it seems like it was just kind of poorly put together. It's like a random instance. It's not exactly smooth either, like this Bezier curve. So I would try to maybe stick with this element here, maybe design similarly, maybe not the same exact thing, but kind of just keeping the same type of flow. This right here was kind of strange, this little element right here, so I would change that up. The About Me section, pretty solid. I like the type here. This is all perfect in my opinion in terms of the spacing, the white space, the scale of the type, the color, contrast, all worked quite well. Probably scaled the size of this illustration down a bit more. Looking at this section, I like the cards. They work pretty well. The alignment's a little bit strange with this prism here. It's like down more, but this one's up a little bit higher. So I'm just looking at small things like that. The blog here. Now this I wouldn't do. When you're hovering over something, it should really just, it should increase the contrast, not decrease it. So I would not do that. Instead, what you could do is maybe just change the color of the title right here to maybe this blue, or I mean this green that you're using, or something like that. All right, other than that, everything here is pretty solid. So what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Ruben, dude, bro, don't do that. Oh, it's just the Gatsby's default starter? Oh, that sucks, dude. That's not cool. If this is a default starter, then that's lame. Don't do that, bro. Or at least don't, I mean, you could do that, but don't submit it for review. Okay. All right. I'm not even going, well, I guess we'll rate it. We'll go ahead and rate it. I think this is probably, assuming he did this himself, I'd say maybe like a 7. All right. No, it's not. Okay, well, Mr. Pant said it's not a template. So, whatever. I'll let you guys hash that out there in the comments. Fight, fight, fight. All right, who's up next? Arad. Here's my submission. You submit by clicking on the YouTube description, click on the Discord link, and then go to roles, submit a reaction to open up the other channels, and then go to the feedback channel, and then submit there. All right. I've seen this design before. I'm going to assume that you made changes to it. The problem is I can't remember what those changes would be. What do you want to learn? This box right here, at least the type, what do you want to learn, should stick out a little bit more because it's really an afterthought, like big time. So just make what do you want to learn, probably like white, and then same thing with the search button as well. All right. Where it says choose a category or choose a category, if it relies on then clicking on a category over here, I would probably put also like an icon pointing left or something like that in order to make that work. Otherwise, people might be a little bit confused. I like this section, headline, subheadline, and the cards. They're all designed pretty well. Yeah, everything here seems to be pretty good. Okay, so that's what happens when you click on web development. Yeah. From what I see here, yeah, it's pretty solid. Again, just that small element up here. I'm not too sure about having this. I kind of wanted to see that purple come all the way down and then maybe somehow transitioning, although that's a very tiny gripe. You could just leave it as it is. Yeah, pretty solid. What do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Good colors. I'm going to say I'm going to say a 7.8, I think. Yeah, that's what people are saying pretty much too in the chat. Awesome. So it seems like if you did submit it before, it seems like you probably improved it too. Okay. Let's go next. All right. We've been doing this for 38 minutes. All right. All right, so for some reason you have some big pixelation occurring on your Sana text. So you'd obviously want to address that big time. All right, so that is a lot of links crammed into this right here. So it almost makes you wonder if you could possibly remove one of them and stick one of them in a footer so that you can increase the white space between these elements because they're really close together. Outside of that, looking at this section, which is just kind of like a slider, really. Yeah, not too bad on the type portion and the call to action. The call to action sticks out well, so that works. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, pretty solid. I'm not going to bother with a rating just because there's not enough content here for me to do so, but yeah, not bad. Let's continue on. This is from Kong, if that's how you pronounce your name. What do you say? My first website project. Let me know any thoughts of design or anything needing to be fixed. Okay. Notice the title says Montserrat. I think he's trying to get brownie points for me. Okay. If this is your first design, your first website project. I'm pretty impressed just from what I see right here. Let's scroll down. Is this really your first website project? Yeah, I really like that. What's funny is Montserrat. That's not the Montserrat font. So maybe this is he didn't even know that there's a font called Montserrat. I like the font though. I would say the little underline is it doesn't contrast enough with the type on top of it, so it makes the type like home, for instance, seem a little bit hard to read. Element or oh okay. I'm wondering if this is a template or something. Well, here's the thing. Even though I don't want people to submit templates or whatever, outside of that, if you are either a new UI designer who obviously probably wouldn't be very good, or you just suck at UI design, then I completely advocate, if you have serious web projects, to use templates. And then in your meantime, try to get better so you can create stuff on your own. But looking at this, for what this is, pretty solid. I probably want more white space on the top and bottom of this container here. There's kind of squashed in there a bit. This section right here, I kind of like it. Sort of this modern UI approach. I don't like the shadow that's coming from this, or this glow, essentially. I would get rid of that completely. I like this section a lot. That works very well. This is all solid. Everything else here is solid from what I see. All pure CSS for this is what he said. Okay, he said this is not a template. Very good then. Awesome. So what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. I'd also get rid of this very slight white border at the end. Probably didn't mean that for that to happen, but it's throwing it off a bit. For me, on this, yeah, this is a solid, in my opinion, solid 7. Other people are saying 7.5, 8, 8.5, 6, 8, 4, 7, 7, 7, 6. Okay, 9. All right. Oh yeah, I remember the Wapalizer extension. True. Okay. Very solid, yeah, especially if it's your first design. Here's my submission. Oh my god, I hate being old with a bad back. Okay. All right. We're at 43 minutes. Let's continue on. My throat's starting to hurt. It's wintertime, dry air. All right. Why is this so large? Reset. There we go. Okay. I like this. Yeah, kind of like that. Let's make this larger. There we go. This is solid right off the bat. I like the logo, although color your life, I can't really see that well. Probably increase this slightly. Tree green, I like this text a lot. I like this. Very interesting. I'm not sure why you would do that. This is a call to action that requires, in order to learn more, you have to drag right. So I'm not sure if that would make too much sense unless you're doing some sort of cool animation or something while people are dragging it. But still, even then, you're requiring a person to put in more work than it is just to tap it versus dragging it. But for what it is, the design works quite well. I would probably make this like a green, solid green with a white little arrow in the middle, and then that way the call to action itself would stick out more. This right here, I like it. This is all very good up here. These icons work, and the page indicators, they work quite well too. Oh, look at that. He had kind of like a animation in there. Oh, that's cool. Kind of did like a sliding, and it made it look kind of 3D when it happened. Very nice. Awesome. Anything else clickable? No, just that. Okay, what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. For what it is, I think it's really solid. I know what I'm going to give it. I'll give you guys like 10 seconds. I'm going to give it a 9.3, I'm going to say. Yeah, very good. Very good, very, very good. Okay, let's continue on. Let's see here. This is from Vendetta. This is loading up on my other monitor. And let's bring it over. All right. One thing I'll say right off the bat, and this is a problem with me too. I don't, like when I take pictures, people take pictures of me, I don't smile often. But when you have like a personal portfolio, you don't want to use a picture of yourself where you're like, oh, this sucks, man. You definitely have to force yourself to smile, at least a little bit. Outside of that, home, about, services, contact, that works. Put here on at least the desktop version, I would increase the white space above the picture here so that you're not so close to the navigation. Push that down. Probably an equal amount of space from the bottom of this type to the top of this button. That's how much there should be between these two elements right here. So just to give you a demonstration, take this, margin top, oops, margin top like that. There we go. Like, so instantly this design's been improved just by increasing that white space. This right here, I don't have my contrast plugin installed, but it probably would not pass the contrast test. It probably wouldn't even be AA. So you would want to make this slightly darker just to make it more accessible for people with eye issues and all that stuff. Coming down here, see we have nice animations on these. These are separated out pretty well with the white space in here in between. That's very good. Definitely major contrast issues with this. You want to make this a lot darker. And I'll show you like probably the minimum lightness that you should have. Probably like right there, like that. You should not go any lighter than this. This right here, you can't even see, barely. So you want to increase this section for sure. Increase the margin top on this section. It shouldn't be so close to this area, especially when you hover over it. If it's going to grow, that causes an issue right there. I mean, I like the design and layout, and also you want to take, well, for About Me, I want to put About Me twice, by the way, if you're going to have a little text blip there. This section, it's not too bad. Probably increase the white space beneath this element in the top of these containers a little bit. It's just a tad bit close. Now the layout's kind of thrown off. It's a little bit funky right here. You have this form here, but real close to it is a different type of form. This is a contact form, but this is a search form. It almost looks like they're a part of each other. So I would rethink about how I want to lay this out, and if it's even worth putting a search bar in your contact section. So that's a UX concern. I wouldn't put a search bar near the contact form. It just makes it a little bit confusing. But yeah, other than that, there's a lot of stuff happening right here. It's just some contrast issues and margin and white space issues, essentially. So what do you guys think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I'm going to say a 6.8, 6.9, maybe possibly a 7. But if you fix the things that I told you to fix, this would easily be close to an 8 in my opinion. Well, I did just consider accessibility in terms of contrast for sure. These, oh yeah, I did forget about this. Yeah, you definitely do, and I've mentioned this in previous live streams in terms of avoiding just using placeholders. That's bad for accessibility. So one of the issues is, say for instance, we type in here, we start typing, all of a sudden some people, maybe they came back to it or whatever, maybe they have a bad memory, they just forget all of a sudden what is happening here. Like what is this about? Like what is this text field for? Because when you click in it and the placeholder hides automatically, which is the default behavior of placeholder text, then you can just forget about what text, what it is. So it requires the person, which is especially annoying on mobile devices, dealing with those keyboards, and you don't have a mouse to quickly delete something. You have to delete what you had just to see, oh, this is a name field. So there's a lot of debate about, what is the best text field approach, but everybody agrees you don't just rely only on a placeholder form value like you are. So you would definitely, a lot of people, they do the floating label thing. So it looks like this, but if you left click, all of a sudden the name will come and it'll float above it like a label. But really, I keep things simple and old school, and I just put a regular label here no matter what. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. All right, let's continue on. Super chat missed. Oh, Blink Link Solutions. All right, awesome. Thank you, man. I'm going to assume username is JDave2402. Or let's find that. All right, thank you very much for the super chat. Let's get rating. I'm going to come down, see what's happening here. All right. First of all, the navigation. These are quite large links, and they kind of get lost depending on which photograph is showing up here. This one's not too bad for this photo. This one is because we have the white plates, and it's creating a contrast and readability issue with the foreground type on top of it. So again, there's a lot of ways you can deal with that. You could make a solid black bar to where you, for the navigation, to where you don't see this element here, or the photographs. You could take the photographs and make them much darker so that increase the contrast automatically. Personally, I would get rid of this white border and then just make it all black so that you don't see this stuff behind it, unless you choose different photographs or make them darker. The font, or the logo up here, it's 100% touching the bottom and the top of its container in this nav bar. You're going to want to shrink that down so it has room to breathe. Outside of that, I would say this stuff right here, the headline and the call to action is a little bit too low. I would bump that up probably 100 or 200 more pixels. The contact us button, it's an outline style button, kind of hard to see. It doesn't really immediately stick out to you because we have this fast rotating photograph slide or whatever you want to say, transitions between each other. So it's kind of making it hard to focus on this type right here and the button. Coming down here, this section was actually better in my opinion. We have a 3-column layout with some photographs here. Pretty solid here, although the view catalog type on being white on top of the yellow background doesn't create for enough contrast, so you can make those black. And also when you hover over it, kind of hard to see as well. So I would rethink the button a little bit. This is pretty solid. I would probably have a little bit more padding inside this element just to push this stuff away from the edges a little bit more, just a little bit, but it works otherwise. And this form just kind of feels a little bit cheap to me. First of all, the borders or the little lines to the right and left, I would get rid of that. Probably left align this element, and then I would probably make these smaller. I mean, these are really large in relation to the rest of the size of everything else that's happening here. So I'd make them smaller, less padding in the middle or around this container, and then, or inside rather, and then Yeah, and then the send button, it almost feels like an afterthought because it's so small in relation to these things. So there's just scaling issues occurring here. More white space on the inside of this container as well, at least on desktop resolution. Right here, final note, hardly any white space at the top of this container. Push things down away from it, this element and this element. And then, yeah. Otherwise, the best part about this design is this section right here. This is all pretty solid. But yeah, focus on those changes and yeah, definitely would improve. So what do you guys think? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best? Oh yeah, the inputs. Why do you keep on forgetting about that? We have the same issue right here. Use labels. For this, I'm going to say a kind of like maybe a 5.5 or so. There's some things happening right, like the middle section. Otherwise, yeah, improve those areas and definitely bump it to like a 7+. All right, now here's the problem. I forgot where I was in my where I was at. Was it this one? I think I reviewed that one already. Yes, I did. Okay. I think the next person is Mr. Doctor. Oh, yes, it is. All right, awesome. Okay. We are at 56 minutes, almost 57 minutes in, so I'll probably do 1 or 2 more. This one, maybe. We'll see. All right, let's expand this XD prototype. All right, so the first major issue that I'm spotting here is Laravel, Vue.js, Nuxt, and WordPress. Having them all these different colors, especially with this background photograph, it makes it hard to read and focus on. Contact me, your call to action button completely gets hidden. What I would do is fill that in solid, get rid of the white border, fill it in solid, maybe with I don't know, this sort of green here that Nuxt.js is in, and then that way that button will contrast and stick out a lot more and be seen like it's meant to be. Latest article being like this desaturated light blue. I don't really agree with that. Honestly, in terms of UX and prioritizing your content, I would probably get rid of latest article and also get rid of this border right here and just, you know, slap this thing, make it start right where our latest article is right here. Looking at it, pretty solid here on the type and the way you've separated it out with the title versus description. Probably can make the description font size a little bit smaller and rethink the padding and the white space on the top and bottom of this element. Should be a little bit closer to the title rather than being closer to the content. Let's see here. The borders around this image, these thin little borders, there's 2 of them. They don't really add to it at all. I would probably just get rid of both of those. And if you have like a higher, see, okay, we're looking at this. This is his social links right here. And then Hire Me. You should take Hire Me and push that down further. More white space between this stuff because it's a different type of content. So push that down. Also, too much white space between your name and full stack web developer. It should be closer. All right, other than that, pretty solid. What do you guys think this person should get for a rating for their design? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Here we go. We got another issue with this. Unless these are floating labels, I would make sure you have regular labels here. Oh my God, my back. For me, I'm going to say I got 6.3, I would say, or so. What did you guys say? 6.374, 6.675.8. All right. Just go to Google and type floating labels. All right. You know what? We are at exactly 59 minutes, 52 seconds. We're a few seconds away from 1 hour. So I'm going to conclude. So, yeah. Sorry if I didn't get to your designs. There was a lot of submissions. Just try to be quicker next time in submitting your designs. The next time I release one of these design reviews. And what I always do is like an hour or two beforehand, I go to my news section and I let people know I'm going live at 9 a.m. or whatever it is. And then you can submit your designs and feedback. And that way you can submit them before I begin, like an hour or two. And then the sooner you submit, the better your chances are that I will get to reviewing your design. So the one way you can do that is to idle in my Discord server, hang out in general. I'm always hanging out here and BSing and such. So yeah, I will see you guys very soon. I'm not sure when the next one will be. Usually sometimes they're once a week. Sometimes they're 3 or 4 weeks apart. It all just depends on my schedule and what's going on. Also, I'll share another update with you. It's looking pretty solid that I'm going to be releasing a course on scrimba.com with the topic of design for developers. So I know I have my complete UI.design course that I've been promising. It's going to be the same exact thing, learning UI design, except it's going to be geared towards developers. So if you know anything about scrimba.com, then you know that it's a site where you can learn how to code, but it's not video. It's like there's a live editor where you can see the mouse and everything that the instructor is doing. And you can also interact with the code too. It's really, really, really cool. There's only a few paid courses up on there. The owner I've known for a couple years. He wanted me to do one. I was like, okay, I can teach what I wanted to teach with his UI design course, and I can do it on your platform. So it's probably going to be a 10+ hour course, and we'll see. Maybe in a month or two, it'll be available. We'll see. So I still plan on doing a complete UI design course for Adobe XD. And I think after that, I'll do another one for Figma just because they're both really popular. So 3 courses may be coming out soon or relatively soon here in 2020 for sure about UI design. So yeah, look forward to that, and I will see you guys real soon. Goodbye.